ask a controversial question.
Don't do it.
Do it.
Vietnamese pho. Better here or Houston?
So Houston has very weird zoning laws too. So you can have, this is a terrible example, but like you can have like a strip club next to.
It's
like
not near like an abandoned warehouse district.
Yeah. But you know, the zoning laws in Houston.
So next to a daycare center, there's a strip club.
Yeah, but maybe not. Oh God, I hope not to that extreme.
There might be, you know.
But
strippers have kids too, guys. Stop it.
Yeah, makes it easier for them. Makes it easier for them to go to work, right? It makes it easier for
exactly.
commute.
You got to think about everybody.
I'm steering away. I regret bringing up the strip clubs.
Wait, you have to finish the sentence. I'm honestly curious. So what are the zoning laws like?
Lucky Boys Podcast.
You're from Maryland. You're from Texas.
Yeah.
I told you earlier that I was actually looking at Texas as a place to move to potentially.
Yeah.
What's it like? What's it like?
Texas is great. So I'm from Houston. Grew up in Houston. I went to school at Austin at the University of Texas. This is like why it's so complicated for me to live here in New York, because I love both places, but for very different reasons. And so the idea of like me also thinking about, you know, relocating one day, moving back to Texas, it's hard because it's like there's all this stuff about New York, and especially in Chinatown, obviously, that I love and would be very hard to part with. And then there's also so many amazing things about Texas. And I think the biggest misconception is like the diversity in the state. You know, yeah, it's still fairly conservative, especially in some parts of the state. But when you get into the metropolitan cities, Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, Houston, you are in areas where diversity really is celebrated. Thriving Asian communities in all of those metropolitan cities. It's a great place to grow up.
I hear that Texas is very family, where people are extremely friendly and inclusive.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Oh, yeah. So I'll tell you a quick story where when my husband and I first started dating, we were long distance. So I was still in school in Austin. He was here in New York. We were grocery shopping at H-E-B. Shout out to H-E-B, best grocery store.
What? What?
H-E-B.
H-E-B. Oh, H-E-B.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we were it's don't call it.
She's so mad right now.
I'm a New Yorker, so you know.
It's a way that like upstate New Yorkers love Wegmans.
Yes.
Is how Texans
love Wegmans.
Wegmans is great.
Is how Texans love H-E-B. So we were grocery shopping at H-E-B, and the cashier woman said, "Hi, how are y'all doing today?" And Wilson was so freaked out by that, because why is my cashier asking how I'm doing? Like, you know, in New York.
And where they're really asking how you're doing.
They genuinely want to know.
Yeah.
Right? And so he was like, what?
What you know about who you with?
Yeah.
What you want to know about me?
Why do you care? What's it to you?
So it wasn't like a exclamation, like a announcement. It was just like, oh, she was actually waiting for him to say something. Like response.
Yeah, like
she was trying to get to know him.
You know, cordial conversation. And
that's suburb life.
Really freaked him out. But you know,
genuinely interested in other people. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and so you know, it's common to have a conversation with your cashier person when you're checking out, and that was so foreign to him. You know, as a born and bred New Yorker, it's a great place to raise a family. Like I loved it because in Houston, you know. So it's interesting because I did grow up in a predominantly white neighborhood. So there are parts of my identity where it felt confusing about whether I was too Asian or too American, you know, that whole thing. However, there are pockets of community as well where there is representation and diversity, and it feels inclusive. And so our Chinatown is more like an Asia town because we had a huge Vietnamese immigration pattern into Houston. The Vietnamese food in Houston, by the way, is... like
I hear and I love Vietnamese food.
Okay, I'm going to ask a controversial question.
Don't do it.
Do it.
Vietnamese pho. Better here or Houston?
Houston.
Bro, hands down.
Houston.
I've never been to Houston, so I don't know.
The New York pho is really not that great.
Oh, Cali pho is better than New York.
Really?
Yeah.
If you ever go to Virginia in Annandale and Eden Center,
A den.
as our Vietnamese. My
I guess
Vietnamese-
I'm missing out. I've
Yep.
never been anywhere.
Yeah. No, definitely go to Houston for all the wide variety of ethnic cuisine because we have a huge Vietnamese population, huge Indian population, Polish. There's actually been a lot of
Polish. Wow.
Yeah, that one was really random.
And all those foods are excellent.
so good. So good. And so when you go to different areas of the city, it's great. And then you have the suburbs too, which is great for raising a family.
Jen's a big foodie, so I'm going to take her advice on the food stuff. Yeah.
We do have to go to Houston to eat pho together.
So,
one day.
so is you're talking about these ethnic communities, and are they like close together, or like how in New York you can actually travel to these different communities and try their cuisines?
Yeah, there's clusters, but also Houston has very weird zoning laws too. So you can have, this is a terrible example, but like you can have like a strip club next to.
It's
like
not near like a abandoned warehouse district.
Yeah. But you know, the zoning laws in Houston.
So next to a daycare center, there's a strip club.
Yeah, but maybe not. Oh God, I hope not to that extreme.
There might be,
But
strippers have kids too, guys. Stop it.
Yeah, makes
Don't
it
knock the
easier for them.
hustle.
Makes it easier for them to go to work, right? It
No.
makes it easier for
Exactly.
commute.
You got to think about everybody. Guys.
I'm steering away. I regret bringing up the strip clubs.
Wait, you have to finish the sentence. I'm honestly curious. What are the zoning laws like?
You basically you have different all sorts of different businesses in clusters. So that what that also means is you can find a wide variety of you can get your grocery shopping, your whatever regular shopping, your services and all that in different pockets of area. And so yeah, you do have clusters defined by race or culture or ethnicity, whatever it may be, throughout the city. But Houston is so unique in that all that diversity is very much celebrated, which I think people find surprising given that we are in Texas.
Yeah.
And I feel like you missed the most important part.
What?
There's no income tax in Texas.
Oh yeah, there's no state income tax.
That's right.
Yeah.
Especially
That's
for me
right.
coming to New York, when I saw the New
Yeah.
York City tax on top of the New York State tax,
Man,
I was like,
I remember
what
the
is
first time I got my paycheck
Oh.
when I first moved to the city.
my heart?
Yeah, and
Like, what the hell is
I
NYS?
was like, I was like, why is there another line for New York tax? I don't get it. I actually thought it was a mistake. And Rachel's like, no, that's right.
and I work in PR, right? And so here I was, like, fresh out of college, working this entry-level PR agency job so I'm making not a lot. Specifically, I think I don't remember what. It was
Not a
somewhere in
lot,
the
it's fine.
30,000.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just like looked at my paycheck and I was like, what?
Peanuts.
Why is that not for me? Why is that line item of the New York State tax? Why is that not for me? But you don't have that in Texas, which is another great selling point. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Now you have to
That's-
drive everywhere, though, right?
We do have to drive everywhere.
But that's
There's no public
why-
transportation.
Yeah, that's
is
why I
that,
asked
is that
about
pretty limited?
Yeah,
access.
the access to public transportation isn't great, so a car is encouraged and is the easiest way to get around. But I think I miss driving myself around, especially living in the city, having to schlep everything everywhere. My back hurts all the time, and you have to be very strategic about the way that you shop in New York City versus in Texas or Maryland. You can just hop in your car and go wherever you want, throw everything in your trunk, and it's fine.